3 days removed from this amazing game on Saturday, and now that we've had a chance to overreact and had our fun, it's time to really focus in on how this Clemson football team has the chance to silence a lot of people.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Clemson podcast. I am your host, John Bivens. You can follow us over on Twitter at I am John Bivens. We are a credentialed media member for Clemson football, basketball, and basketball. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast and over on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Here on Locked On Clemson, you're getting all sports, all passion, all the time, where we're bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports. Today is September 10th on this Tuesday evening. We're going to be talking about how we're back to earth, kind of overreacting is done. Now let's truly focus on the future. Talking about time and consistencies are keys. And then we're going to end it up talking about our road to the college football playoffs. It's going to be a great episode. Our sponsor for the day is 5 Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off of your order. 3 days ago, Clemson played an outstanding game against App State. Now we've had that time. We overreacted a little bit yesterday's show. It's truly time to focus in on how this Clemson team can silence a lot of people moving forward. Look, on yesterday's episode, we talked about it and we gave you that forecast of, hey, the first episode after every game, we're going to overreact a little bit. We're going to lean into it. We're going to allow ourselves to be just a fan, right? We're going to allow ourselves to just really embellish in the moment. Against Georgia, our overreaction was the sky is falling. Yesterday against App State, our overreaction was this team's going to win it all, right? So we had those moments. Now it's time to get back down to earth. Let's come back to earth. There was some interesting comments on the YouTube episode yesterday. If you listen via audio, we appreciate you. Make sure you keep doing that. But if you watch on YouTube, you might have noticed there'd be some interesting comments over on YouTube. And so we just want to answer a couple. We want to address a couple of them. The two biggest things that I want to address is people were saying that I said that we lost to Georgia was a fluke. I want to respond to that. And I usually don't do this, but I want to respond and say this. I never said the loss was a fluke. What we said was that the fact that Georgia beat us by 31 points and they didn't allow us to score a touchdown, that was the fluke. I think I even said yesterday, Georgia's a more talented team and they're better than us. And that's a fact. Like, you can't deny that right now. Where the two teams are right now, Georgia is better. I think they're better than probably every other team in the nation other than one. Texas is debatable. But that's what we said. We don't think that the loss was a fluke. We talked about it. We went in hoping to win. Georgia went in expecting to win. You're going to lose every game just like when that happens. We lost the game. The fact that Georgia held us to not allow a touchdown, that's the fluke. Our offense still looking like last year, I think that is the fluke. So I'll address that. The second thing I want to address is this. We made the comment that against Georgia, it was Dabo's offense, and against App State was Garrett Riley's offense. I don't mean that Dabo is calling the plays. Dabo doesn't call the plays except when he has a situation where he's like, no, right now we need to use this specific play. That's how it always is. That's the reason there's an offensive coordinator, so the head coach doesn't have to make every single play call. What we were saying is this. In App State, it looked like Garrett Riley got off his leash. It looked like Garrett Riley no longer had to adapt his style completely to Dabo's and was truly able to call the game that he wanted to call. That's why it looked so different than last year and the game against Georgia, because I really feel like he was able to use his plays. He was able to air it out. He was able to get the dirt rate going. He was able to make it more his style. That's the comments we said, and that's how he meant it. But now, we wanted to address those, but now looking forward, we really need to address where Clemson's going to be, where we are right now, where this Clemson football team is right now. And we're getting back to earth. And the reality is this. There is the potential for Clemson to come through and silence a lot of people. There's been so much hate. There's been so much doubt. There's been so many people very outspoken about how Clemson's done. Clemson's dead. They're a team of the past. They're now just mediocre. They're just now a good team in the ACC, but not even the best there. And there's all these kind of comments, right? I'm talking about how Dabo can't use the transfer portal, and that's caused the team to go down. And I don't think that's true. I think right now Clemson has the chance to show, hey, our offense proved that our offense is a legit threat. Now they have the chance to go out and win against a better opponent because App State's a great opponent. They're one of the, probably, in my opinion, the second best, if not the best, Group of 5 team. Them and Liberty are the top 2. They beat a good team. Now we have the chance to go against some Power 4 opponents, to go against NC State in 2 Saturdays. We got a bye week this week, but next week we play NC State. We have a chance to go show them, hey, we're not just another team. We're not just, that wasn't just a game where we did good against a smaller team, but it's real. This hype is real. This offense is real. This new style of Clemson, going back to dominant Clemson pre-COVID, is real. They have a chance to silence all of them. If Dabo comes out and has an amazing year and the team looks like they did against App State, I'm not saying has to score 8 touchdowns on 8 straight drives in the first half every game, but show the dominant side, have the big plays. They had 17 plays that analysts describe as explosive plays. 17 in one game. If we're able to go and have that kind of offense, that kind of explosiveness, score touchdowns, be competitive on both sides of the ball like Clemson's known as, it's going to silence a lot of people. Because now the transfers, Dabo's proved, if that happens, he proves he doesn't need transfers. He has the recruits and he has the ability to create his team without them, right? So that he has the chance to truly silence a lot of people with some doubts. Right now, we're healed, right? I think this game provided a little bit of healing to Clemson fans from that Georgia game. I think we saw the side of Clemson that the coaches have been hyping about all camp, hyping up this offense with the explosiveness and playmakers. We finally saw that. And Dabo will tell you that the Georgia game, they just didn't show up. And I think this App State supports that argument. Now the question is, can he do that again? Can he do it against NC State and truly show that? So I think it did provide some healing. And yesterday, we talked about how this team made the turn. And I completely 100% back that. I think that in a year from now, we're going to look back to this App State game and say that's the game that Clemson returned to Clemson. I firmly believe that. But I think it's going to take a little bit of time to truly show a difference, to truly know if that's the case. Look, whether or not it's true, we'll have to wait and see. But I think it's very likely that Clemson Tigers is back to their program, is a new program, a different program, not different than they've ever been, but different than the past 3 years. They came out, they scored, they had record amount of yards and points in the first half and the first quarter. They played amazing. And you can't just be like, oh, it was against Group of 5. All right. Teams play against Group of 5 every single year, right? Like big teams do that. Nobody has done what Cade Klubnik has done in the past 25 years, even against the smallest of schools. So there is an argument to say, even if it was against a Group of 5, a smaller opponent, it still hasn't been done in the way that Cade Klubnik did it. So there's that validity there. There's supporting there. There's strong arguments there. Where Clemson stands right now is Clemson stands really high. Where we have a lot of momentum. There's a lot to be positive about. There's a lot to be upbeat about. Now it's time to go and do that week in and week out for the rest of the season. The biggest thing to really tell if this team is the new and improved team or if it was just a one-time thing comes down to one thing, and it comes down to time. Hey, Locked On Clemson fans, I want to take a moment and give you a heads up on a brand new mobile game that I think you're going to love as much as I do. Ultimate College Football HC. In this amazing game and simulation, you get to step into the shoes of the head coach and lead your college football team to glory. Can you imagine actually being the head coach of Clemson? From recruiting players and hiring coach staff to overseeing training camps and handing school scholarships, you control every crucial detail of the program. And here's what I really love about the game. You get to call the offensive plays during the games. You get to decide if you want to call all of them or just the big plays or just simulate the game and only handle the front office stuff. You're responsible for the strategy and the shape and legacy of the program. This game is completely free, has no ads, and is 100% playable offline. You can play on the go as you want, when you want. And of course, we have a special offer for you here on Locked On Clemson. Use promo code LOCKEDONCFB, all caps, inside the game store to receive a free boost to your program. Make sure to act fast because this perk is not is gonna expire soon. But go ahead and act fast now. To download the game, visit ultimate-cfb.com. That's Ultimate CFB, or look it up on the App Store. Ultimate College Football HC. Begin your coaching legacy today. Time is the only thing that'll truly tell us the state of Clemson football. When we really think about this Clemson football team and how positive and reassured we can be after this game against App State, time is going to answer a lot of questions. And perhaps the biggest question that's going to answer is consistency. Look, we cover Clemson baseball, football, and basketball. And the biggest question that we've had for a couple years now when it comes to Clemson basketball is consistency. Brad Brownell has been there a long time, has not put together a great resume. He had a great season this year, but is yet to put together back-to-back NCAA tournaments. He's only made it 3 or 4 times now. He struggled. He struggled for a lot of the time. And the biggest question that we keep asking about Brad is, yeah, he did great this year, but can he be consistent? Can he create Clemson to be a consistent team in the NCAA tournament, to be a consistent team at the top of the ACC? Consistency is the biggest question there. This football team is in a very similar boat. Not at the fact of year-to-year basis, but more, can we consistently be as good as we were on Saturday? Again, I'm not saying we have to go out and be excellent, breaking records every single time, but can this be a team that is consistently good on offense? We went out and we were improved. We looked amazing on Saturday. They were making the plays. They were making the reads. Cade looked so much better. He didn't look like the game manager he was. He looked like that true leader. He was making the right reads. He was making the right checks. He was playing the right calls. He was calm in the pocket. Our offensive line looked good, allowing rushing lanes to open up, film off over 100 yards on 10 carries. Other running backs getting in there, getting rushing yards as well. Playmakers were having well. Bryant Weska was out there making a big difference in his first start. Antonio Williams was playing well. Even Cole Turner had a decent game. We played well. Can they be consistent? Can they turn this to just one game after a rebound against Georgia to this is their identity? Can they make this explosive offense? This offense that can score. This offense that knows how to utilize weapons. This offense that is growing, and Garrett Riley is calling every level and doing the right things, having it be his offense. Can that be consistent? And honestly, we need to see a couple things from time in order to prove that this is consistency. We're going to have to see a couple things over the next little bit. The first thing that we're going to have to see is, one, we have to see Cade keep playing like a leader and leave the game manager behind. We've talked about this in the past. He was coached to be a game manager, saying, let his team win the games, him just manage it. That's a loser mentality, right? We've talked about that a couple times. Can he consistently be the kind of quarterback he was against Saturday? Can he consistently be the leader of this team? The one that's going out, making the differences, going out, making the plays, putting the game on his back, and leading this team to an excellent performance. Can he do that? Can he truly make that difference? We need to see that. And time and consistency are going to show that if a yes or no. When time passes and we see more games, we'll see if he can consistently do that or if he's going to go back to being a game manager. Number 2 we need to see is can keep utilizing the right playmakers on the field. Adam Randall should not go back in the starting lineup. Cole Turner should not enter the game in a close game. Our receivers need to be Antonio Williams, Tyler Brown, and Bryant Weska, with TJ Moore coming off the bench. Those should be our top 4 wide receivers. Jake Brenningschool should get some targets. Those 5 should be our weapons that we're utilizing in the passing game, and Phil Maffa running it up on the rushing game, right? On the ground to attack. Can we consistently make sure that we're using the right players and those players are showing out? Can they do that? Bryant Weska, it was his first start. It was against App State. Can he do that against a Power 4 team? Can Cade Klubnik put the team on his back and see the different leaders and allow the playmakers to make their plays against a better team? We won't see that until time happens. And that's one area that we need to make sure that is consistent and continually moves forward. And then the third question we need to see is this. We need to see if this defense can put together a complete game. As good as they looked, that hasn't happened yet. In the first half against Georgia, they played one of the best halves they've played in a long time, and they're a great defense. Year in, year out, Clemson's a top 10 defense in the league, in the nation. Can they consistently put together a whole game, though? Because in that second half against Georgia, that wasn't the truth. They definitely digressed. They definitely played worse in that second half. Against App State, honestly, the second quarter might have been the weakest quarter from this defense. They didn't play well in that second quarter. They allowed scores. They missed open tackles. They made wrong reads. And I know Dabo had a lot of people on the field. He didn't just have his starters out there. We had our third, fourth string players in some instances during the game. But in that second quarter, they didn't put together a complete performance. We had a really bad game and a really great game. And in both of them, we have yet to see this defense put together a complete performance. Can they do that? That's a big question, because as we get down the road, as we get some of these tougher opponents, as we get into different areas of the field, different looks in the schedule, our offense isn't going to score 8 straight times every game. Can this defense put together a complete game, start to finish, being the elite offense that they are, the elite defense that they are? That's a big question we need to see. At the end of the day, we feel really good right now about Clemson. If you're a Clemson fan, you should feel great right now. You should be positive, bask in this moment. But as we move forward, time is going to show, can we be consistent? And those 3 questions, Cade being the leader, utilizing the right playmakers, and defense having a complete game, are going to be keys to success moving forward. With 2 weeks down now, we're 2 weeks into this season. Clemson's 1-1, but looks to be going way uphill. What does Clemson's road to the playoffs actually look like? What is our competition in the ACC? What's the rest of the schedule look like? What is our answer? Do we even have a path to the college football playoff? I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I just need a little help. Sometimes I just need to get the feeling of alertness and energy I need to be able to get into the zone. And 5-hour energy shots give me that feeling and alertness. 5-hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to get them alert, to get them energized, feeling that they need to get through a busy, hectic day. You always know where to find 5-hour Energy shots. Right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. Stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5-hour Energy shots. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5energy.com, and get some 5-hour Energy product today. You can even use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used on promotions, it's not good on subscriptions, but it is good on your first purchase. So go to 5hourenergy.com today and get that feeling of alert to get the work done that you all are doing. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Look, Clemson looked great. We are 2 weeks into this season, and now it's time to step back and reanalyze what our road to the playoffs look like. Clemson's schedule, it's not the best one, right? At the beginning of the season, people were saying Clemson had a tough schedule. We opened up in a neutral site game against Georgia, and then we played at home against App State. Now we have our bye week this coming week, and it's our only bye week until October 26th. So we'll have a long stretch of games coming up soon. But after this, we've got some great games coming up. Well, for next up, we play against NC State. And at the beginning of the season, NC State looked like a really talented opponent, like a really threatening opponent in the ACC. They haven't looked so strong recently. They're sitting at 1-1. I think they're lucky to be 1-1. They barely escaped week 1 against Western Carolina. Western was pushing them, which is an FCS school, in case you didn't know that. They were pushing NC State throughout the whole time. They're not looking great. In Tennessee came out last week and absolutely blew them apart. It was ugly. If you didn't watch that because Clemson was going on at the same time, take my word for it. It was ugly. Like, not even worth going to look at the highlights. NC State never stood a chance. NC State, while they're supposed to be a really good team, they still have that talent. They still have the Grayson McCall, the quarterback that everyone was hyped about. He hasn't looked like he truly has. We don't know. They're kind of sitting in the same boat as Clemson. It's a perverse, and they really haven't had that great offensive showing. They have a lot of question marks right now. they're living on, are we as good as we thought we were, or is this going to be another rough season? So that game against NC State, it could turn into a blowout by Clemson. It could also turn into an extremely close game. And you never know. NC State could finally turn the corner and make it have a great game. So we're not sure how that's going to be, but that's a tough game coming up. Could be. Right after that, we play Stanford. Stanford is another team. They haven't played up to their level so far. They opened up the game against TCU and lost that 27-24. I'm sorry, 27-34. And then this past Saturday, they placed Cal Poly, and they won that 41-7. So they are 1-1 right now as well. I think we should handle that. That's not one of our tougher opponents, but it's up there. Right after that, then we go and play Florida State, and at Florida State. That's another team that is right now has got to be fumbling. They got to be, what is going on? Opened up the season to lose to Georgia Tech in Ireland. Big game, right? And this is supposed to be a team that was going to easily win the ACC. This is the team that last year went undefeated in the regular season and then completely complained about not getting in the college football playoff, which they should have. I agree that they should. But then they got demolished by Georgia in the bowl game. This is a team that doesn't know their identity right now. They're struggling to figure out what's happened. They had a bye week yesterday or on Saturday. Now they play Memphis this coming week. So that they could still be a threat in the ACC if they can turn some stuff around. They're starting off with a foot not in the right spot with 0-2 already in conference, but they could still be a tough opponent. After that, we go through and we play Wake Forest. Wake Forest is another one. We really don't know what that team they're going to be, except they didn't start off too hot. They played North Carolina A&T, won 45-13. Then they went and lost to Virginia this past Saturday at home. They lost to Virginia 31-30. So Wake Forest, a team that has been good in recent years, might be on the path sliding. Then after that, we follow them up with Virginia, who, like we said, Virginia has been – I wish they were better than they were. Honestly, I do. I love Tony Elliott. If you don't know, he used to be one of our offensive coordinators. They started out decent so far. They beat Richmond. Then they beat Wake Forest at Wake Forest by 1. So tougher game, maybe, probably not, but we'll see. You never know. Don't chalk it up for a win yet. Then we got keep going. We play perhaps the second hottest team in the ACC right now in Louisville. Louisville's a team that, again, they had some hype at the beginning of the season. We don't really know who they are. They've had 2 really dominant wins, but it wasn't against strong opponents. They beat Austin Peay 62-0 and Jacksonville State 49-14. I think they have a bye week. They had 2 bye week or a bye week this coming Saturday. Then the 21st, they play Georgia Tech. That'll answer some questions on Louisville there. After that, we play Virginia Tech, who's all at Virginia Tech. It's always tough playing in that environment. They might not have the season so far that they've wanted. They lost to Vanderbilt in overtime. They beat Marshall, though. Then we play Pittsburgh, who start again, another team. They haven't played tough opponents. They played Cincinnati and won by 1, which is a big opponent. So that was good, but still a lot of questions there. Then we play the Citadel, and we end the season against South Carolina, who South Carolina, if you ask them, they're winning the SEC right now. So I take that as whatever it is. The bottom line is this. Our schedule right now, the tough opponents that we thought were going to be really hard, FSU, NC State, are not playing how they were supposed to, right? They're not playing exactly how they're supposed to. ACC does not look hot. ACC, honestly, people are even lower on the ACC right now than they were at the beginning of the season, and I didn't think that was possible. So with that being that low, Clemson has a really good chance to show out. If we can go through and keep this momentum high and keep playing hot and win out through the ACC, we have a great chance at getting to the ACC championship game. And right now it looks like we'll probably be playing against Miami. Miami is looking great, but they're kind of like Louisville, haven't really played anybody too hard yet. I think we're still waiting to see if Miami is truly living up to the hype or if they're continuously going to fall and do Miami and just fall apart later on. But we'll see that. They did play Florida, which is they beat Florida earlier on, which is a good game, right? That's pretty impressive. We don't know what Florida looks like this year. We're not sure if they're going to be good or not. So, again, you could take it in. They beat an SEC opponent, which is exciting, right? I'm sure they're living high on that, and they beat them pretty good, 41-7. Then they beat Florida A&M 56-9. So you could say that, but again, we don't know what Florida's going to be. We don't know if they're truly Florida Gators or if they're not so hot, not playing well, right? So I think Miami, we're still waiting to see. truly see their identity. But it looks like we'll play them in the ACC championship game. And that game, if we win, obviously we're in the college football playoff because the four conference winners get a spot. But if we lose that game, we need right now, if you're a Clemson fan, I can't believe these words are going to leave my mouth. We need Miami to look really good this season. If that's the team we're going to play in the ACC, we need them to look really, really good. Because then if we go to the ACC championship and say we lose a close game to Miami, let's just say things don't go away, we lose a close game. Our 2 losses are against ACC champion Miami, who if they look really good, that's not a bad loss, and then a loss to Georgia. We're sitting at 2 losses making to the conference tournament. We have a chance at getting in on that. We have a chance at one of the at-large bids to the college playoff. So our road to the playoff right now, I would say it's strong. I would say we have a great chance to make it there. I'm going to predict that we make it back there. I'm sticking with my prediction at the beginning of the season. I think we win the ACC championship game. But either way, our road to the playoff right now, it isn't set in stone. It's not a for sure thing, but it looks really good. So hopefully Dabo Swinney can keep this up, can keep this momentum going, and can get us back into that playoffs and get us into the inaugural 12-team playoff. But with all that being said, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. Now go check out Locked On College Football Podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McCaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Later this week, we're going to continue talking about the state of Clemson football right now and look ahead at different games. Make sure you join our Locked On Insider program where you can chat with us one-on-one and access to some bonus videos. To join the Locked On Clemson Insider program, text Clemson to 864-252-1907. You get 14 days for free to try it out, but we would love to see you in there and have those one-on-one conversations. If you haven't, make sure you subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast, or if you're watching us over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. That way, every single day we can be your first listen here on the Locked On Clemson podcast. We cannot wait to see you on tomorrow's episode. Until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring, and as always, go Tigers!